Preparing the menu. One of the most important tasks that you will undertake as a service professional is the delivery and recommendation of the menu. The guests have come to your dining area to experience the delights that the kitchen team can produce. This all starts with the menu. Menus are a description of the food, wine, and experience that guests will enjoy in your dining area. Whether the menu at your establishment is a one-page menu, a booklet, or even a blackboard menu, they serve the same purpose: to get the guests excited about the dishes on offer and let them know what's available. In this lesson, we'll take a look at the following points in preparing the menus: cleanliness, supply, and additional reading material. Let's start with cleanliness. Always prepare menus before service begins so that they're ready when your guests arrive. Clean the menus, make sure that they are neat and up to date, and that they are neatly displayed. Check each page to make sure there are no stains on the menu. Now let's move on to supply. Ensure that you have enough menus to give each guest. If you have a large group of guests arriving at the same time and you are not prepared, you will only be able to give menus to some of your guests, and the others will feel left out. Lastly, let's finish off with additional reading material. If your establishment has any promotional material or information sheets, make sure that you know what they are about and that you have found out the best way to deliver this information. Also, ensure that they are clean, neatly displayed, and that there are enough. If you have prepared correctly, once the guest arrives, you are in a position to present the menus to the guest with confidence. So to recap, preparing your menus involves cleanliness, supply, and additional reading material. Well done. Learning the menu. As servers, we are guides for our guests in their dining experience. While guests are at your dining venue, you are their expert guide. It is up to you to guide them through the delicious dishes on the menu, to recommend special beverages, wines, and cocktails. Also, it is vital that you understand how the dining experience will unfold in terms of timings and the order of events. This all starts with preparing your menu knowledge. Learning the dishes on your menu is a lot easier if you break the dishes up into groups and ingredients. The dishes on the menu can be broken down into 3 steps. Step 1. The course the dish forms part of. Step 2. The main ingredient. And Step 3. The accompaniments, such as starch, vegetables, and sauce. Let's start with the courses. This step involves breaking up our menu into courses. You'll remember from level 1 that there are multiple courses, the main courses being starters, entrees, or the fish courses, main courses, and desserts. Now, instead of having to remember 20 or more dishes in a row, you can simply remember how many each of these dishes you have. For instance, 5 starters, 3 entrees, 8 main courses, and 4 desserts. Next, let's take a look at Step 2, the main ingredient and its cooking method. The next step involves taking each of the dishes on your menu and highlighting the main ingredient of each dish. The main ingredient is often the first ingredient that is mentioned in the menu description. For instance, take the dish grilled beef fillet with roasted vine tomatoes, butternut mash, and a red wine jus. It is built around the main ingredient, beef fillet. Now, note whether the main ingredient is meat, such as beef, game, lamb, and pork, poultry, such as chicken, turkey, duck, and quail, fish, or a vegetarian dish containing no meat. Also, make a note of how the main ingredient was cooked. The cooking method has a big effect on the overall flavor of the dish. For instance, if a piece of fish is steamed, it will have a certain flavor and texture. But if it was deep fried, it will have a very different texture and flavor. This is why it is so important to make note of the cooking method of each main ingredient. So, with our dish, we know the main ingredient was beef fillet, and the cooking method was grilling. Let's finish off with step 3, the accompaniments. Now we know which dishes fall into each of the courses, and we also know what the main ingredient is for each dish and how it is cooked. So, now we need to learn the rest of the dish. What you will find is, as a general rule, starters, entrees, and main courses contain the following: a main ingredient, which we already know, a starch, such as potato, rice, or pasta, a vegetable, and a sauce. So now, you can break up each dish into those 4 sections. That way, when we are trying to remember a certain dish on the menu, we can say, what is the main ingredient, and how is it cooked? What is the starch, and how is it cooked? What is the vegetable, and how is it cooked? What is the sauce, and how is it prepared? The whole dish. When you can answer these questions, you will be able to use all of this information to describe dishes in detail for your guests. For example, Mr. Jones, may I recommend the grilled beef fillet with roasted vine tomatoes, butternut mash, and a red wine jus. In this simple description, you have mentioned the main ingredient, beef fillet, and how it was cooked, grilled, the starch, butternut, and how it was prepared, mashed, the vegetable, vine tomatoes, and how it was prepared, roasted, the sauce, red wine, and how it was prepared, made into a jus. You will find that some dishes do not have all of these parts. For instance, some will not have a sauce, or some will have a starch but no vegetables. Every dish is made up in its own unique way, and it is up to your kitchen team to decide how to compile each dish. Simply ignore the part that is missing for that particular dish, and only remember the parts that are on the plate. Now that you have all the menu knowledge, you are able to tailor your recommendations and answer questions about the food. Tailoring the menu recommendation means making recommendations to your guest that you know best suit what they like and enjoy, so that your recommendations fit the guest perfectly. For instance, if you know a guest doesn't eat meat, you would suggest a vegetarian dish, not a steak. But to do this, you need to know the dishes. To recap this lesson, the dishes on the menu can be broken down into 3 steps: the course the dish forms part of, the main ingredient, and the accompaniments or side dishes, such as starch, vegetables, and sauce. Good luck learning the menu at your establishment. practicing your communication. In the next few lessons, we are going to take a detailed look at how to deliver confident, proud, and well-informed menu presentations to your guests. This all starts with an understanding of effective communication. While it may seem a little strange at first, practicing your menu recommendation in front of the mirror is the best way to perfect your menu speech. It lets you take special note of your body language when presenting to guests, and it also forces you to remember all of the dishes and their components without looking at the menu. We'll be looking at the points to bear in mind: body language, positioning, volume and clarity, eye contact, and timing. Let's start by looking at body language. As you've seen, the way that you look and move has a huge impact on the message you send to your guests when you communicate with them. So, getting your body language right is the first step to delivering a great menu recommendation. When practicing, make note of the following points. Are you neat and clean? And does your uniform look good? Keep your hands comfortably in front of your body while you are talking. When describing exciting menu items, such as special ingredients, use subtle, descriptive hand movements to add color to your descriptions to show excitement and confidence. And remember to always smile. You must enjoy the recommending process. It is your time to shine. Next, let's look at how to position yourself. Check your positioning at the table. If you are standing too close, they will feel uncomfortable. If you are standing too far away from them, they will not be able to hear you properly. Think of how you feel when someone who is talking to you is standing too close to you. It can make you feel quite uncomfortable, especially when this person is not someone that you know very well. Stand about one full step away from the table, in a position where all of the guests can comfortably see and hear you, and you can move comfortably. Now, let's look at the importance of volume and clarity. Always be aware of the volume of your voice. Are you talking too loudly or too softly? Are you speaking clearly, forming your words beautifully? Adjust the volume of your voice so that all the guests at the table can hear you, but soft enough so that you don't disturb guests at other tables. Observe your guests' faces and body language and adjust accordingly. For example, if guests are asking you to repeat yourself by saying sorry or excuse me, turning their ear towards you or moving closer, make sure that you speak slightly louder, more slowly, and clearly. Speaking clearly also involves speaking at the right speed. If you speak too fast, guests will not be able to take in all of the information. If, on the other hand, you speak too slowly, guests will become bored, so try to get your pace just right. Speaking clearly is also essential, as many guests come from foreign countries, and they may not be used to your accent and the way you say some of your words. If you speak clearly and slowly, these guests have a much better chance of understanding what you are saying. Let's look at eye contact. When talking to your guests, make sure that you make good eye contact with your guests. Try to look each of the guests in the eyes when you are talking to a big group, and not just one or two of the guests. This shows that you are talking to all of them, and everyone will feel included and important. When we are nervous, often we avoid eye contact with guests. Practicing in front of the mirror, or in front of a group of friends or colleagues, will help you to improve your eye contact with guests. Be confident and natural, and you will be able to recommend and interact with guests brilliantly. Finally, let's look at the importance of timing. It is very important that you don't talk for too long. Some menus are quite long, so As a guide, recommend only 2 or 3 dishes according to what you know about the guests. Then you can answer any questions they may have and leave them to make their decision. A good menu recommendation should take between 2 and 3 minutes, so check your timing as you're practicing and adjust your timing if necessary. Again, reading our guests' reactions is essential. We can often see from our guests' reactions to our menu recommendations if we are taking too long or if we need to help them to make their choice. This will help you to adjust your recommendations to suit your guests and their individual needs. To recap, in this lesson, we looked at the following points in making a menu recommendation: body language, positioning, volume and clarity, eye contact, and timing. Good luck, and remember to practice your menu recommendations to get it perfect. Now that you have a good understanding of how to break up your menu, you're well on your way to learning your menus with confidence and excellence. Sometimes there will be words on the menu that you don't understand or recognize, such as ingredients and cooking methods that you don't know. This is because a lot of the terms are from countries like France or Italy, and chefs use those words to describe certain ingredients or the way they were prepared or cooked. For instance, the word carpaccio is an Italian word, meaning that the main ingredient, usually raw meat or fish, has been very thinly sliced. Or, a word like sauté is a word that describes a particular cooking method, where the ingredient is shallow fried in a hot pan. This means that you need to find out what these words on your menu mean so that you can explain them with confidence if a guest asks. If you see a word you do not understand, make a note alongside the word. This will remind you to learn what that word means before service begins. Make a note of all the words that you don't understand and ask the chef when he has time. Don't ask about one word, then go back with a question about another word, which could irritate the chef. To be a real professional, find out if there are any of your colleagues who also don't understand those words, and if so, go to the chef together, so that the chef does not have to explain what they mean 20 times to 20 different people. Rather, they only have to explain it once to all of you. When you learn a new term, write it down. Make a note of how to say the word out loud. For example, carpaccio can be written as it is said, carpaccio. This will help you to grow and get better and better as a professional server. Good luck. Allergens. Understanding allergies and how to accommodate them is an incredibly important part of providing guests with food and beverages. This is not only because allergies are common, but even more so because if a guest eats or drinks an ingredient to which they are allergic, they could get very ill or even die. So in order to prevent this, you need to properly understand allergens. We'll be looking at these points. What are allergens? Common allergens, and how to tailor for guests with allergies. Let's start by looking at what are allergens. As you know, certain things are poisonous. If a person eats rat poison, for example, they could become sick or die. There are some foods that are safe for most of us to eat, such as nuts or milk, but to some people they are poisonous. These substances are called allergens. They aren't always food. To some people, feathers or bee stings can be allergens. But allergenic foods are the most important for you, and these are the ones of which you must be most aware. Next, let's look at some common allergens. People are all very different, and so are their allergies. But there are some foods that are common allergens of which you should be aware. Nuts, such as peanuts, almonds, and walnuts. Dairy, including milk, cheese, and yogurt. Gluten. Gluten is found in wheat products, such as white bread, pasta, and cake. Shellfish, including prawns, crab, and lobster. Garlic and onion. And eggs, including chicken eggs and duck eggs. This is another reason why menu knowledge is important. If the guest has an allergy, you can tell them which dishes to avoid and suggest another dish instead. Finally, let's look at how to tailor for guests with allergies. Of course, the thought of making the guest ill is frightening, but fortunately, there are a number of things you can do to prevent the guest eating or drinking an allergen. Information about allergies and dietary requirements should be secured during the booking process. This can then be shared with the rest of the staff during the pre-service meeting, including the kitchen and the pass manager. If, on the other hand, the guest didn't book, they will usually let you know or ask about particular dishes if they are unsure. But if you are ever unsure and you want to be safe, you can also simply say during your recommendation, "The chocolate crunch is a delicious dessert, but it does contain nuts. If you are allergic and you have a chocolate craving, I'd suggest the rich chocolate pot." If a guest informs you of an allergy during service, you must let the pass manager know so that they can inform the kitchen. If you know in advance that one of your guests is allergic to something on the menu, a great touch would be to create a special menu, with the dishes that contain the allergen removed from the menu. If there is someone else at the table who has ordered a dish containing the allergen, let the guest know. If you don't point this out, the guests may share their food, and the guest could get ill. So to recap, we looked at what are allergens, common allergens, and how to tailor for guests with allergies. Good luck in understanding allergens and preventing your allergic guests from ingesting them. Let's take a look at some special dietary requirements. You will find that your guests are becoming increasingly health conscious and ethically conscious in their choice of food and their lifestyle as a whole. Some guests may not eat pork, others may not eat meat at all, and others may only eat fish. For this reason, you should know the different types of dietary requirements in order to prevent a guest from eating something that might be against their beliefs or religion, and to recommend dishes based on the guest's preferences. We'll be looking at vegetarianism, veganism, pescatarianism, kosher foods, halal foods, Hindi requirements, and Sikh requirements. Let's start with vegetarianism. Vegetarians eat vegetables, but no meat, including beef, pork, chicken, and fish. Vegetarians commonly do eat other foods that come from animals, such as milk and eggs. Now, let's look at veganism. Vegans eat no meat, poultry, or fish, and also eat no animal products, including milk, eggs, and cheese. Next, pescatarianism. Pescatarians don't eat meat, such as red meat or poultry, but they do eat fish. Let's look at kosher foods. Foods that are allowed under Jewish dietary law are called kosher foods. Foods that are not kosher include pork, hare, lobster, and crab, and foods that mix dairy and meat, such as cheeseburgers. Next, halal food. Halal foods are foods that are allowed under Islamic law. Non-halal foods include pork, blood, alcohol, and animals not slaughtered according to Islamic law. Next, let's look at some Hindi dietary requirements. Your Hindi guests will most likely not eat beef and often don't eat pork. Finally, let's look at some Sikh dietary requirements. Sikh guests often don't eat beef or pork, and some will be vegetarian. Sikhs also don't eat halal meats. So to recap, the dietary requirements we looked at are vegetarianism, veganism, pescatarianism, kosher foods, halal foods, Hindi requirements, and Sikh requirements. Let's do a quick practical example to see how much you remember. Have a look at the following 5 menu items: pasta with bacon and cream, fillet steak with a cheese sauce, chicken in a red wine sauce, crab cakes, and green salad with butternut and beetroot. Which of these would you recommend to a vegan guest? Well done if you said the green salad. There is no meat in that dish. And which dishes on the list are not kosher? The pasta is not kosher because it contains pork. The crab meat in the crab cakes are also not kosher. Well done if you noticed these 2 dishes. And a special well done if you noticed that the fillet steak with the cheese sauce would also not be kosher, since it combines dairy, cheese, and meat. Good luck tailoring your menu recommendations for different dietary requirements.